Okay, welcome to the Aro Benaiah Show, where we explore the raw journey of blue collar entrepreneurship and the mindset that builds success from the ground up. I am your host, Aro Benaiah, and today we'll be diving into digital world with our guest who knows exactly how to help service business, especially the construction, to win online. Westawa is the founder of Uplift 360, a company that helps construction brand grow through smart websites, CEO, and marketing strategy. He has built his business the hard way, from the trenches up, and now he's helping others avoid the same painful lessons. If you are a builder, cleaner, painter, another kind of hands-on entrepreneur wondering how to stand out, this is for you. Yeah, good to have you once again, West Tower. Yeah, thank you
Fantastic.
for sharing.
Thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
thank you.
It's fun to be here.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. First of all want to actually more like ask more like, what were you like as a kid when you were growing up? Were you more of a thinker, a builder, or just naturally curious about things that work?
Yeah, sure. So growing up, my grandfather started a lot of bakery businesses here in Australia. So he was in business, and my uncle, he was an architect, so he was in business. So they were kind of influential to a degree in that was a thing. It was something that I always wanted to do, but I never studied business. I never really. It was kind of like a dream, but nothing that I ever thought really would be fulfilled until much later in life. So I suppose, like lots of your listeners, we start out with a skill. We get trained with a skill, and we do that thing, and then at some stage we realize, hey, maybe if I worked for myself delivering this skill, um, it's more profitable for the person, but more rewarding in a lot of ways. So what you're building yourself is for your future as well. It's not just for your boss's future, if that makes sense. So that I always found compelling and interesting. And I sort of started by accident. So I was just doing my work, and an opportunity came up. Someone was closing their business, and they said, "Hey, do you want my few customers?" And I said yes. And I had no idea what I was doing to run a business, and I made very little money to start with. But I started there, and I learnt the hard way, really, just in the trenches, as you say, trial and error, making lots of mistakes, but small mistakes, and correcting the way I go for the future as well.
Oh, thank you very much. That was really interesting. That was really insightful. Getting to know that your parents and your uncles were into bakery and that of well, it's actually interesting. Okay, okay, I think. Okay, can you still remember vividly your first paid job? More like, did you actually work in the family business when you were growing up, or what was
Uh,
your first paid job?
Yeah, so my uncle was running a business, and my grandfather ran a business, but he had long retired by the time I was sort of working age. My father worked in a shoe shop, but his boss owned multiple businesses, and I worked in a factory to start with. I was on the line of my first working was in a factory at the end of the production line, just packing the jumpers onto the coat hangers. At the end of the hot machine, so the machine would bake the screen print on there, and it would come out hot. But the buttons would be really hot and burn your hands as you're putting them on the thing. That was my first job, and then I did work in shops and things while studying as well. But then ended up getting into design, graphic design, and website design as well from there. So that's kind of where I learned a lot
Yes.
a business. Yeah, yeah. Just watching my bosses how they did things, and that wasn't necessarily the best way, but it was the only way I knew from what I could see they were doing.
Yeah. So for how long were you able to do that business before you actually more like get started in yours? How long did you stay in doing that particular job?
For working for anyone else, I only worked for other people for, I think it was full time for three years before starting my own company. And as I said, so to start with, I just did my own business a couple of days a week, and then I made it full time business, and then ended up getting some team members and so on from there. So I just slowly but surely built it up. Yeah, I wasn't in a rush.
Wow, this is really interesting because I'm getting to find out that that means for that 3 years that you were working for someone, you still retain your side business around. That means couples of time you still revisit it until you were fully convicted to go all in. Wow, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
That's,
Well, it is. I mean, it's not necessarily the best way to do it, but it's the way I did it. And because 3 years working for someone else isn't really long. When you're a young man, you feel like 3 years is a long time and a lot of education, but not in your whole life. 3 years is not much at all. So I didn't know what I was doing really.
yeah,
So
that was really interesting. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, were there moments while on the job and something click and you thought actually more like how did the thought actually more like just shifted? You know, being that you're working for someone, what was that point that make you realize that I need to be start doing something on my own, become an entrepreneur other than working for someone? How did it click? And because sometimes, even me, I was even employed at one point in time before I actually changed from. I just thought that I think then it was because the company I was working for, they took long before they make payments, and before then I was doing some particular side job that earns me money without having to wait for my boss to get to pay me. So while I was working for that construction company, I just decide one day that I think I should return back there where I need to kind of order things on my own without waiting for any boss
yeah,
figure. So when did that click for you, and when did you just
yeah.
change?
Well, I suppose that in the early days, I could see how much the bosses were charging for my time to do a project. It was 7 times my salary. So I thought, wow, if I can even just get a few jobs and charge not even 7 times, but a little bit more than what I get paid through the boss, I'll still be in front, you know. So the rewards, financial rewards, just seemed so compelling. That was my first thought. But then the next thought was, but what if I don't get any work? You know, the fear of not having anything at all, or the security of having employment. And it depends where you are in the world. So here in Australia, there's lots of security if you've got an employer because the government makes them pay a certain figure. And if you're sick, they have to pay. And so in holidays and annual leave and that all, everything's taken care of. But as soon as you're working for yourself, there's no more security. So there's lots of reward, but no more security. So that fear was a big thing to come come to terms with, and I suppose that's why I started just a little bit at a time, and then built it up until I was confident with it was going to work.
Wow, that was really interesting. I think the fact that you make reference of when you start on your own, all the other demand of the holiday when you are sick, it's the burden is now on you,
Yeah.
rather than when you were working for someone. So as at when you actually change from working for your boss and being an entrepreneur, more like what was the biggest burden for you that you were looking at that almost make you thought of maybe I should just go back and work for my boss rather than being an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Well, I suppose in the early days, I was probably making when I did go full time in my own business, I was making less money than I would have with the boss. Not a lot less, but just a lot less headaches. So when you work for a boss, you finish at the end of the day and you go home and you don't worry about anything. But when you work for yourself, you never sort of switch off because you're always trying to grow. There's good and bad. So everything you put in, it's your rewards. You're building something for the future. So it's your benefit. But there's also the cost of never. For me, it's hard to just switch off and relax. I'm always thinking about the next project, growing the business, what I can do to make things better. I mean, things are great already now, but part of the entrepreneurial spirit is always trying to do better, build something greater, build something bigger, make it faster, cheaper, better, always trying to improve. That's that part of anyone who wants to get into business. That's what motivates them, I think, to the improvements.
Oh, this was really insightful because I could actually really relate to this, being that being an entrepreneur. Uh, Even if you go to bed, you still go to bed thinking about what to do
Yeah,
different, what to improve, and some certain
yeah,
things you can actually bring in that make your work faster and better. Yeah, thank you
yeah,
very much for that. Okay, so looking back to your early experience, did you think what look back to earlier experience, what do you think that gave you the grit, the mindset to rely on business owner, to rely more like something that give you the grit looking back now to actually started yours? What was the single thing? Was it the increase in payments, or was it the sometimes I think from a part of the world here is what actually make us dive into entrepreneurship mostly in Nigeria is the fact that sometimes it's the security. There's no security here. If you're actually more like working for someone, at any time you could get sacked. And so entrepreneurship seems as though it come natural, being that you want a secure path and you want a more clear path for you where you can actually more like decide a whole lot of stuff. And over here too, there is no law surrounding or how much employment employees are meant to pay you at one particular point or the other. So for you, more like what's actually more like make you look back and say, no, I just have to look back. Is there any single thing that you could pinpoint, being that in your own part of the world, there was a government structuring, ordering the payment, and
yeah. Well, it's very different scenario, obviously, in different parts of the world. It's certainly Nigeria to Australia quite different. The I suppose a mindset shift helped me was, and someone said to me, a bit of a mentor, he just said, look, if you're an employee, you can get fired by it's like you've got one customer. If he fires you, you've got no more work. But if you work for yourself, you have lots of people. So if one fires you, it's only one. So you haven't lost all your business, you just lost one, and you can get another one easy. So I thought, oh yeah, that's true. So and even I at one point I had one really, really big customer who gave me most of my work, took up all my time. But it was too many headaches because they felt like they owned me. Like they felt like they owned all my time. Everything they asked for, they wanted it straight away because they knew they were the biggest customer. So I soon realized it was better for me not to have one big customer, but to have lots of smaller customers. So then I'm not tied to one. I'm
yeah,
not dependent on one. They can't control me too much. They can't control me. I'm still able to deliver the best possible service that I can to lots of customers, but no one's like manipulating me anymore. And bosses can manipulate you, because if they think you depend on them, then they make you work harder. They make
yeah,
they expect too much. Where you've got lots of bosses, you've got lots of freedom. If one person is causing you problems, they're unfair. You just can part ways with them, and you find a better opportunity. So I think that's an important thing, no matter where you are in the world,
yeah.
not to be controlled. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
thank you so much. I think that was very, very exciting, owing to the fact that you make reference of when you started out, you have one client who are paying you big. And I think in that particular scenario, it's still looking as though you have a boss figure and you're working just for him. And if that person decides to just stop, more like calling for your service, you almost go jobless. And so
that's
I
right.
think for me, it actually started that very way too, until that actually being that just way you said, the client was giving me a lot of headache from here and there, and that actually made me to be more creative in looking for more other extra customers. So that at the end of the day, if one didn't work, the others can work. It won't just be depending on one. Thank you so much for that
No
particular
worries.
insight. So
Yeah.
how did you go? How did you go from figuring out things in the trenches and finding up list 360? How did you go?
Slowly but surely, I sort of figured out a few things. I read lots of books. I think reading good quality business books and marketing books is a great way to learn. They're like a and you can get them the audio books as well. But the learnings you can get low cost. I mean, it's someone's best material put into a book, and it's it might take you a week or so to read it. Depends on how quickly you read. But that's all their best information. So I learned lots of things from books that I read early days. I read E-Myth, which was I mean, I'm quite old, I suppose now. So that was a popular book when I was starting out. The 4 Hour Work Week was a really great book I read.
Yeah.
Lots of information from those. So my business education is not traditional. I have no business education to how to run a business other than observing my own bosses. But I learned everything from the people that I read about and listened to. Um, I didn't do any big courses. I just bought some books and
But
studied them. Yeah, yeah. You don't need so many expensive courses where you can get the very best information in books, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was really insightful. I think the fact that you make reference of this book, and I think those book in a way when you read them and you are still working, it sharpens your sense of observation, because
Yeah.
then once you start reading them, you start seeing things from another different realm, seeing your boss working, and yeah, it's very interesting, especially that 4 hour work week. I think I read it and it's very, very interesting book. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you for that
Yeah.
particular insight. So a lot of my listeners are hand-on professionals, painters, cleaners, builders. What is the toughest blue collar job lessons you have learned while starting out your journey? If there's at
Yes.
any time, if you do anything related to blue collar job at any time, what is the toughest one that you have actually come in contact with, and how were you able to? What was the biggest lesson during the course of doing it?
Yeah, I work with a lot of blue collar people who are starting out in business. So we call them tradies here in Australia. We call them
Trading.
tradies. Other people in the world, they call them contractors or what have you. So it might be electricians, plumbers,
Plumber.
bricklayers, roofers, air conditioning people, all sorts of what we call trades. And they always kind of start out kind of in similar paths. So they worked for somebody else doing what they do best, their skill, they're using their hands, and then they want to start a business. And I love working with them because they sound like I was when I started my business. So they're wondering, how do I start the business? How do I find customers? How do I get the website? What do I need to say? What makes me different? Why are people going to buy from me? How do I price? All these things that I had to learn, but I can kind of help them along that path. And so we build websites for them. So that involves helping them with the message of what they want to say. So even through that process, it starts to help them think about how they want to position their business. So not every electrician is the same, or not every plumber is the same. Some types of works is better for one than the other. Some people don't want to do some things, but they find something else more profitable or more enjoyable. So we help them with their message on their website, so they're attracting the right people, and we're helping them to get as high as they can in Google for search engine optimization. So, really understanding their business is a really key important thing for how I serve these people who are just starting out in business.
Yeah,
So
starting.
yeah, so it's really exciting because like you'll see some people, and it might be a young guy starting out. He worked for his boss for a few years, 5 years maybe. He's finished his apprenticeship, works a little bit as a fully qualified. Then he starts his own, and he might have his wife helping with the books, but that's it. Um, and so yeah, starting where they're at. So they might not have a huge budget to start like
Yeah.
everything they want to do right away for the marketing, but to start with a really great website is really important, especially with AI now. So all that information you put in your website, AI can pull that out, and so it's going to change the way everything everything works, AI. So you need to be online with your information, and the one place you control the message is your website. Everywhere else, social
Okay.
media, there's noise, distraction, other messaging, but your website, once you get them there, you control what's being said and how you engage with the potential customer who needs your service.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. It's this is really exciting because I just remember a whole lot of businesses. I think I was scrolling through Instagram the other day. I got to see one business vendors who I think they don't rely more on they rely more on their social media, and I discovered that they were lamenting the fact that Instagram brought down their page during the course of their business, and they lost a whole lot of their clients, and they were making reference of it. I think just we were just saying it. It just dawned on me that website to do more better rather than relying on social media, which will actually sometimes the algorithm there might be a lot of noise that doesn't allow them pass their message so well and being able to kind of sustain their customer on that particular platform. So what I would love to ask again is uh, okay, what do you think? I think we're already in 2025, but a whole lot of those who are in trade businesses, they seems not to be online. What do you think they're actually missing out? The fact that they are not showing up. I don't know. I'm just saying from your perspective, how to what extent do you think they are missing out from a whole lot of stuff that is currently going on?
Yeah. So, well, there's just the transformation of how people search. So most people, I don't know, all around the world, but most people, everyone here in Australia still uses Google to find a business, or they're communicating ideas through ChatGPT or other AI. But what those people are searching for is answers to questions. And we've seen a big shift where people used to search for the service, say plumber, and then the location, say Melbourne. So they say plumber Melbourne in their search. Now people are searching for a whole sentence because they know the computer and the AI understand the whole sentence. So they'll might say, I need a plumber to fix the toilet that's leaking. After I flush it, it continues to run, and I'm in Melbourne. They might ask that whole sentence. So your website needs to address those questions. So then Google can say, oh, this is the answer to your question. Now, the answer might show up in Google at the top, but if someone needs to engage a business, hire someone, they still need to visit the website. So they might get the answer on Google, but they still need to visit the business that gives the best answer for their needs. So that's why adding content, fresh, unique content regularly to a website in the form of maybe it's a blog or news, really boosts your Google ranking up higher, and also helps you to be found in the AI search as well, because that's where everything's going. I don't know. Have you found that in Nigeria? Is the everyone using AI yet, or for the
Yeah.
what?
It's. I think the number of people who are using AI currently in Nigeria is not that very much.
Okay,
Especially for those doing handy job, it's not that
yeah,
much. I think majorly most handy persons who does job over here now, they heavily depends on referrals. So most times when they are looking for sorts forward to who to do their handy job, they might just ask their neighbor, who helped you the
yeah,
last time? So it's
yeah,
still that was of mouth. So I think the fact that you're actually bringing up this now, it's
yeah,
actually more like being a good place to just tap into it and build. One should build his own, because over time it's going to come to that particular point where they'll look
yeah,
forward to AI helping them out to actually locate those
yeah.
handymen to do their job. Wow, thank you
Well,
so
yeah,
much for that.
yeah. Well, the referral, you're right, because that's the easiest and best way to get work is
Yeah,
referrals, and it means you've done a great job, and then the neighbor recommended you as word of mouth, so the recommendation referral. But when you're starting out, you haven't had you done a few jobs
yeah,
already, so no one referring you. So you got to fight harder to get the work in and get the obviously do a great job. The referrals will start to come, but you have to really work to get those first customers. And especially here, I don't know about there, but we had a really big boom time for construction, so everyone had heaps of work. People didn't have to do a great job. It was just hard to get just to find someone to come and fix a light or something. It's just so hard to hire anybody because there's just so much work. But now things are shifting. It's hard. There's not as much work anymore. People aren't building houses as much as they were. No one's got any money to build as much as they were. So now the blue collar workers need to be better at attracting business because there's lesser of it out there.
Oh wow, 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 that's interesting. I think for
Mm.
my own part of the world, it's the fact that though not much buildings is actually coming up, but the fact that a whole lot of persons they are entering schools and once they go into university and come back, they are unwilling to do any handy job again. So they rather go for the white collar jobs like the offices, and even if those ones who actually learn the skills, sometimes they find it difficult to identify themselves as a trade person. So
Yeah.
it so
That's happened
there's
here.
that.
Yeah, that happened here. That happened here too. So it felt like even the governments were pushing people to get white collar jobs, so desk jobs. But and then we didn't have enough people working with their
Yeah,
hands. Um, but I think there's going to be a big shift. The AI is going to do a lot of the white collar jobs. They're going to
yeah,
lose their jobs. You got to learn how to use your skill, your hands, and build something or fix
beautiful.
something that a robot can't fix. Or you're going to be more profitable because you can do something the computer can't do.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that would be a very big encouragement to my audience, especially
Yeah,
those who are still doing it and still are not getting a lot of our clients yet. So because from what you just said now, it simply means there are a whole lot of future in here. If they could just get started and stay true. Because staying true, we mean that they keep showing up with the little job they have seen. Over time, recommendation will pour in and words of mouth can speak out for them. And they might not even have to look for much job again. It will just keep pouring in daily.
yeah,
Yeah. So more like, what is the biggest marketing mistake? Small business. What is the biggest marketing mistake small business make with their websites, especially service based and the one that you have helped?
yeah. So for for it might vary in different places, but a lot of people jump too quickly to doing ads, paying for ads like Google ads or Facebook ads or whatever it is. Um, and so that ad will push people back to the website, but the website isn't up to scratch. So they're paying for the ad, and then they're not getting the inquiry. So it's getting things around the wrong way. You got to get the website right first, and then if you do ads, they'll be more likely to convert into actual business. Also, that when you're paying for ads, it can be really hard to make enough money to cover the cost of the ad. So
Yeah.
you're losing money. I and there's so many simple things you can do yourself before you start paying for ads. Um, I would say build your referral network is a much better way to grow your business than to pay too much on ads. You could make, I don't know, it depends where you are, but there might be a networking group for businesses, and it's great if you can get together and um, have a coffee or whatever the culture is. Get together regularly, once a week potentially, with businesses that are similar to yours but not the same. So you don't do the same thing, but you do complementary things. So
Yeah.
then you remember to refer to each other, and they will refer back to you, and you're building that trust, and you're having fun too. You're catching up with they become friends. So you catch up with your colleagues who do similar complementary services. So if you're an electrician, make sure you're meeting with a plumber regularly, and a few others, and bricklayer, whatever it is, handyman. Um, Catch up regularly and support each other. That's the best thing you can do.
Wow, this is really really insightful because I think before now some friends of mine they were actually make reference of when I just get started out. Yeah, because currently I run more like a cleaning business. I have some staff who actually work with me. I run cleaning business and that of painting, both of them together. So they were making reference of the fact that the using of the Google ad and everything. I think from what you just said, it that just more like for my interest. I was making reference of the fact that If it is you are using Google Ad and you are making sales, it's easier for people to just buy more like impromptu, even if they have not made plan before to buy some things, being that owing to the fact that they saw ad, they can buy. But handy business is not something they need. If the need, they arise. So it's very, very key that our clients, all our more like audience, they didn't get more like started out more like doing ads without having a website, without having more like let's say a funnel that lead them to a website where they can actually educate their clients before leading to leads. If not, they might get to waste the whole of their budget on ads, and still the conversion is not going to be very much. I think this is very insightful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, for someone listening who does not have a bigger budget for a fancy agency, who want to start out right, how do you think they can actually improve their online presence? If at all they don't have much yet, so what do you think over time, being that you have actually hit a whole lot of?
Yeah, so you've got to start wherever your budget is. I mean, we probably do slightly higher end website for people who can afford it, but you can build your own website if that's what you need to do. There's lots of systems out there to start your own website, and that's a starting point. Where so oftentimes we'll get people who built their own website because they were just starting out and had no budget. And it didn't do exactly what they wanted to do, but it was at least they were online, at least they were started, they were getting some work. Then they started to build their business. Then they needed to do something more sophisticated. Maybe they needed the website to be able to take quotes, or to do estimates through the website, or to book time into someone's calendar, or whatever the case may be. Once they need something a bit more technical, that's when they need people like me to get involved. So yeah, start wherever you're at. Sometimes people say, well, I'll just wait and do the website later when I can afford it. I don't think that's the right thing. I think do whatever you can right now and change it later. Just build as much, build what you can now, and get some traction, get some business flowing through, get some jobs done. If you're getting some jobs done, you're building a referral network because you're doing great work, and they'll tell their friends and neighbors and family. So it would be a mistake to wait. I don't think you should wait. I think you should start wherever you can.
Wow, that was really, really insightful, because getting to know that starting where you can, more like even if you don't have much, from what you just said, being that you're a professional in this particular field, it just speak volume that at anywhere you are, you can actually get started. You don't have to wait for a big budget. So that was so encouraging, I would say. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, you have helped a lot of business to cut through the marketing noise. How do you help clients focus on what actually works, especially when everyone is trying to sell to them? Or like, how do you help
Yeah,
them to cut through the noise?
yeah, yeah. So if they can be really clear about precisely what makes them unique. Um, if there's
Hmm.
so I did it for a company just recently. They said they did lots of different services in their field. I won't say what field because they might I don't know what I can share, but they said they did lots of services, but it turned out they were outsourcing a lot of those services to different to different people. So they would make a little bit of money because they would get the service done and they would charge a bit extra, but it wasn't the super profitable work for them. They just did it as an extra. But their website focused on that too much, where we shifted it to focus on their core service offering, because all of that is profit for their business. And so sometimes you try to say too much and it just dilutes your core
Hmm.
strong, what you should be saying. Sometimes less is more. So you want your core message of what precisely you do, who you do it for, um, and why you're better than the next option. That's what you need to focus on. So sometimes people feel that's a bit of a risk because they think, oh well, I might miss out on something else but it's not the best fit. And you get that additional work by accident anyway. Focus on focus on who you are and your strengths and your core offering, and what's most profitable is important too. And the other things will happen as well. So yeah.
Wow, this is really insightful because I remember when I actually started out, I was doing a whole lot of couples of things. Just the way you make reference of it. I was doing some little carpentry jobs along. I was doing some fixing of curtains and window blind and everything. Over time, when clients reach out to me, they are confused of what I do actually, which make
Yeah.
it demanding. So just the way you said now, focusing on the core and trying to craft more like a unique selling points depending on that particular strength of yours, rather than
Yeah.
focusing on a wider range of markets. Whereas
Yeah.
most of them they are not even profitable, rather than stick with what is profitable and
Yeah.
make it. Wow, thank you so much for that. That's interesting. Okay, if you are starting from the scratch, no tech background, just grit and a good trade. Okay, should they be online or what should be their first step? More like imagine someone who is just starting out, let's say just starting out, let's say within this particular year, or let's precisely this particular month. They just have the willingness, they are passionate, and they might not have the to do knowledge about tech here and there. Where should they start from? Should they start more from online first, or should they start looking forward to joining group and every others? From your perspective, what do you think they should get started from first?
Yeah. Well, maybe I'm biased. I think a website is a great starting point because that's what I do. But the other things I would do if literally had no money and I was just had to start and I was on the street and I just had a skill to sell, I would be asking myself, what are people buying before they buy what I need? So
Hmm.
if I'm a tiler, well, that means people who are getting their bathroom, maybe people who are getting their bathroom renovated or thing, they might they might go to a interior designer. So the interior designer knows everyone who needs tiles. So I would be calling the interior designer and say, hey, look, I'm a local tiler in the field, just starting my business. This is what I do. Um, is there ways I can support your clients? And sometimes what they might do is they might say, well, that's great. We can refer you some smaller jobs that don't fit us because we're interior designers. We do the whole job, not just the tile. They might refer, or they might say, oh, well, you can come in as a subcontractor. So you can do the tiling part of the project and we'll manage the whole project. So that's what I say. Just build the relationships with those people who already have the clients you want. Not that you're not going to steal their clients, but there's going to be clients that don't fit them. And because they're bigger, they're not going to deal with the smaller ones anyway. So you just make a friend of those people, and feed off that because that's free. I mean, you can just go knock on their door or make a phone call, whatever you can do to make a contact. You'll get a lot of rejection. That's fine. That's part of it. That's just you're just gonna have to cope with that. But the few relationships you can build, all my best work has come through some form of a relationship with somebody who knew about me,
Hmm.
for various reasons. So yeah, so it all helps, all works together.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was really that's very profound. The fact that building relationship really matters in starting out in getting one or two things done before you can actually more like yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Okay. What is one common mind about digital marketing or websites that you would love that you would love to bust to blue collar entrepreneur? More like what's the common mind that you think blue collar entrepreneurs has this common mind that be hindering them from going all out towards getting their website done or towards getting their marketing. Yeah, what is the common mind?
Yeah. Well,
Meet.
this is the common thing that we'll always face is all of us are good at something, but not so good at other things. And the things we're not good at, we're scared of. So if we work with our hands, we don't work on a computer. A website is the thing that might scare us. Um, So yeah, you've just got to overcome fear, really, especially when you're starting out in business. So overcome fear and know you're not your customer. So your customer, whilst you don't use a computer, your customer might to find you. So you have to overcome and step outside your comfort zone and think, oh well, I don't use websites to find businesses, therefore I won't worry about it. Well, there's lots of people who do, and they're the
Yeah.
people you want as customers because they're the opposite. They're not good with their hands. They can't fix their tap. They can't paint the wall. They can't hang the blinds. They're the exact customers you want because they need the full service. So you got to think about how they approach your business and how they might find you. So yeah, I think overcome fear. That's certainly something I had to do a lot. Starting out, just have to overcome fear. Like going as I spoke about networking and meeting other people.
Yeah.
Starting out, like you're just a small business and just meeting big business people, like around my town and having coffee with them, you feel a bit intimidated, because they're known around town. They're very successful, all of that, and it's just me, and I don't really know what I'm doing at that
Yeah.
point in time. So just you have to be confident and comfortable, and take the risks of stepping out um, and seeing where it takes you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that answer. I think that was really key. That what you don't know, we fear a lot. And I think that was a big. I think the moment you said that, it just hit me different because I know at a certain point I was afraid. I think I went for a conference this period, and they were asking me to handle some copies of presentation on laptop. I'll be so fearful that I can't even. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to do anything concerning it because I know that I will miss out something. Even if I know I won't miss it, but there was this fear that I can actually make reference of, which is very key. The fact that you make reference of that your audience sometimes they might be good with it, and then you don't expect them to find you where you can't be searchable. You have to just come out from this particular think from the perspective of your client, being that they are on nets, they are on search engines, so you have to appear there if you want to be seen. Yeah, thank you so much for that. That was really key. Okay, what is your final word of encouragement to our blue collar entrepreneurs to win today? More like if they are just starting out, if they're trying to scale, or for those who are just still doing it all alone, just themselves alone without any employees. More like, what is your encouragement to them?
Yeah, sure. So the thing I think is the key is if you believe in the service you provide, if you're great at what you do, there should be confidence enough in that the rest will come. All you need to do is be in front of as many people who need your thing
Hmm.
because so be great at what you do and deliver it really well because every job you do is a potential referral person. So build on that confidence. So there might be areas of lack in your skill set and the areas of lack in your confidence, but I always just remind myself, well, I'm really great at what I do. Therefore, even if I do have a meeting and I don't present very well, or I don't really know what to say, or other things are not quite right, well, I can learn those things, but I just need to be in front of as many people who might buy my thing as I can because I know it's great and I know it's a good service. So that's it.
Yeah, this was really really encouraging. The fact that once you are good in it, just keep showing up consistently to as many persons you can, with
Yeah.
the best offer that you can. Over time, you are going to win yourself over. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Okay, maybe you should tell us about yourself again, your business, and how you help blue collar entrepreneurs, so that for those of our audience who love to reach out and would love to actually more like partner with you and their businesses, so that you can help them work on it toward bringing light to their business. So more like tell us elaborately
Yeah.
what you do and how you help them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm in Australia, so I run the business here from here. I've got global clients as well. Uplift 360 is the business, uplift360.com.au. is the website. So we do websites, and we get them as high as we can on Google, and mostly for what we call trades and construction. So trades would be contractors in other places. So electricians, carpenter, painter, um, designer, even home designer, builders, those sorts of things. So we specialize in those types of businesses because that's the best. They're the best clients for us because that's what we deliver the best projects for. So building materials, even all those kinds of things. So we do it mostly for Australian companies because we're here and that's easy. But we've got a number of clients all around the world who find us for various reasons, and we build their website where they're at, so they might start it reasonably small and then build more functions. For example, we did a crane calculator recently. So it's all the complicated things. So you say how heavy an item is, how far out it is, and what crane you need, and it'll tell you. It'll tell you what crane you need, rather. So all those sorts of more complex things for bigger companies, we can certainly do those. But starting out, people build to a business like that. You don't start with those complicated things. You start with a simple website, and then build up. So we've got lots of clients who started small with a blue collar worker who just started selling his skills, and then he hired people, and then he hired teams, and now he's a CEO of a big company. Those sorts of things. So yeah, we love working through that. I've been doing it a long time, so they're the best clients for us. So yeah, happy to anyone. Yeah, people can jump on the website Uplift 360 and they'll find me there.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Sal. I think it's the fact that your company is very unique, because I know a whole lot about other companies who actually build websites, but what they do is not tailored to the trade people who are into painting and into constructions, which simply means they might do same thing, but they don't have the best offer compared to yours, which is more specific on those who are in the construction companies, and you have your own share owing to the fact that you work with a whole lot of client bases, and you have seen what they struggle with. And so my client are going to jump onto this and reach out to you. Okay, so I would like to ask again, you make reference of in respect of mindsets when you're actually building up. There are some couples of books which actually change your perspective towards business and towards actually how you actually educate yourself, even without going to a trade, without going to a marketing study, more like marketing school that actually gets to teach you on this business. Maybe you can actually more like make reference of one or two of those books and chip in one or two of those lessons you learn from those books. Maybe my audience will definitely want to learn one or two from it too.
Yeah, so there's a book. Well, I mentioned the 4 Hour Work Week,
Yeah,
and there was lots of fun lessons in that book. It was really the one that I wrote a book myself as well, so people can find that. Although it was 10 years ago now, so it's still relevant, but there's a lot of the
yeah.
tactics in there have changed. But the and 4 Hour Work Week was written a long time too, but still some of the ideas of simplifying the business and not thinking that things have to take a long time. So I was probably doing a lot of things in a way that was too complicated and just meant that it took too long, and therefore it wasn't very profitable. So Tim Ferriss was great at that, at simplifying your life and making a lifestyle business as well. I mean, starting out, you just have to fight and build it as best you can and put all your time into it. But when you get to a point where you've done it for a while, you can hire people. So I had no idea about, getting teams involved and that sort of stuff. So that really helped me systemize. Well, eMyth was great for systemizing a business. I didn't implement everything from that book, but some of the key things about having systems and processes that are repeatable. And same with 4 Hour Work Week. So if you have a process, you do a certain thing. If you do it the same way every time, well, then you can train the next person to do it. So if you're painting, if you set up a system that you always start with the ground floor covers, or you always start with cleaning the items, the tools. You're setting out the tools, setting up a system. Doesn't matter if it even seems obvious. It needs to be really clear, because then you can get someone else to do exactly what you do to the standards that you do it. Because if you just trust them to do it their own way and think it's obvious, well, they'll do shabby jobs, and the paint will be all over the place, and the customer won't be happy because they've left a mess behind, and all of those things. So systemizing was great in the E-Myth, I thought. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate. Okay. While I was going through your bio, I discovered you wrote a book too. Maybe you can just tell us some things about your book and some insight you think my audience is going to get if they go through it. Maybe you can just share some insight from that particular book so they can reach out and get some of your resources.
Yeah, yeah, people can jump on and get it. So, the Simple Manifesto is the book. You'll find it on Amazon, and you can get it. You can request it, a printed copy in bookstores. It's distributed everywhere. Um, if it's not in your store, you can ask for it, but you can get it the ebook as well. That's often easier these days. So, Simple Manifesto. It's marketing principles to save time and create a big impact. So, really, really useful for a blue collar worker, I think. To some of the principles in there. A lot of the things I learned the hard way. So some personal stories, and um, even life learning skills, and disappointments. I mean, one of the big lessons in there, well, there's lots in there, but the first person I hired, how horribly wrong that went. um, she tried to steal all my clients, and she went out and tried to steal all my clients, and someone I trusted, and so on. So in a lot of ways, that was I left myself vulnerable in those things, with not putting some safeguards in, and so on. So I made mistakes. So
Yeah.
lots of mistakes in there. It's better to learn from someone else's mistakes than make them yourself. So
Yeah.
reading about, as I said before, if you can read about my mistakes in the book, but there are other things that I changed and improved and learnt from, and yeah, I hope people enjoy the book. Yeah, I got a lot of good reviews from it. So yeah,
Wow. Wow. That was really interesting. I think the fact that we make reference of hiring, I think hiring is another different level when it comes to setting up a system when it comes to blue collar jobs, and the fact that you have a lot of insight there, that should make my audience jump on this. Okay, I thank you for this insightful answers to this each of those questions today. I really appreciate. All right, so I have a closing script that I will just read before we actually end the meantime. So, Wes, thank you for sharing your journey and dropping so many practical gems today, for building in the trenches and building online. To everyone listening, if you got value from the conversation, take a thing Wes said and apply it to your business this week. And be sure to check Uplift 360 to dive into the work of West. If you enjoyed the show, please share it, leave a review, tag us. Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and never stop growing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. Okay, so it will take some couple of minutes for it to upload. Okay, let me just